Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Business of Fun podcast. Today, I have the TiqAssist guys, Chris and Jamie. We're going to talk about what TiqAssist is up to. We're going to talk about how these guys started it, because their story about starting TiqAssist is interesting. How they provide value to fans and to teams. We get into a bunch of stuff. But before I introduce Chris and Jamie, I'd like to talk to you. I'm dropping this episode on Wednesday, April 19th. Tomorrow, April 20th, there will be a free webinar on selling tickets now. It's 7 ways to fill your seats. I will put the link in the show notes. Check that. It is at 11 a.m. If you can't make it live, use that link. I will be providing a recording to everybody, so check that out. Make sure you get the Talking Tickets newsletter. That's talkingtickets.substack.com. Check that thing out. Business of Value, businessofvalue.substack.com. DaveWakeman.com is my website. Lots of cool stuff I'm working on. I have been working on codifying some of the branding and strategy and pricing formulas and processes that I use with people in ways that it makes it easier for me to deliver it. It probably makes it a little bit cheaper for some of the smaller organizations that may not necessarily have a chance to work with me. It's going to be great. So keep an eye on all 3 of those locations. So the TiqAssist guys. So TiqAssist is a way that it helps season ticket holders have a better resale experience. And TiqAssist is been created by Jamie and Chris, who've been friends for years out in the Bay Area. They have an interesting story about the pain point that forced them to create TiqAssist. Some of the lessons they've learned, getting the job, being able to work in sports, all kinds of interesting stuff. This was a cool conversation with the TiqAssist guys on the business of fun. I want to welcome the TiqAssist guys to the Business of Fun podcast. Chris and Jamie, what's happening, guys?
Thanks for having us on, Dave. How you doing?
Yeah, no, this is going to be awesome. I have to say that when we were prepping for this thing, I was fairly interested because Jamie mentioned to me that you both have spent most of your career outside of sports. So I'm kind of curious, like, how you got started with this idea, and then we'll get into the idea. But I'm curious where you started because most of the time you don't switch. It's tough to switch careers sometimes.
Yeah, definitely glad to jump into that, Dave. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. So Jamie and myself, we've both been season ticket holders for close to a decade. Myself with the Golden State Warriors and Oakland Athletics, and Jamie with the Golden State Warriors as well. We were actually had seats next to each other. And early on in that season ticket owning experience, I think the experience that we both had was reselling tickets for games that we couldn't attend. Was a bit more time consuming and stressful than both of us would have imagined. There's a lot of things that go into it, figuring out how to list the tickets, needing to constantly reprice the tickets as the markets moved. And, as we've learned, the markets move a lot in the ticket resale world, and just trying to keep up with that. And, eventually some tickets are going to have a hard time selling. So we're both last minute scrambling to text our friends and family, hey, can you go to the game? It's not selling. And then, ultimately, it's kind of a pretty frustrating feeling to see tickets go unused.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I spent a lot of my career in biotechnology and was traveling around. I have a son, I was coaching his little league team, and, there's just certain conflicts where you can't make it to games. And anytime I didn't make it to a game, it was you find out that it's really almost like a part-time job just to manage that many events in a season. And we've had the fortune of having season tickets for a team that's made it to the NBA finals on multiple years. And so you're talking, 70, 80 events in a 6-month period. And, that becomes kind of a strain on almost your relationship with the team in a way where, it goes from you being a huge fan to you having to manage something. And we really felt like there was an opportunity to just, create a business that had a service for people to just make it easier for them to attend the games that they were going to and not have to worry about the games they couldn't make.
So First off, Jamie, you had it easy. You just had the Golden State Warriors. Chris was the one who had the real full-time job because he had the Warriors and the A's. And baseball is his own special form of torture if you're like a fan that doesn't have any idea, because that's 81 games. I mean, that's ridiculous. But go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
So you hit the nail on the head there. MLB probably is the most challenging of all leagues to resell your tickets, given the number of games and just the nature of the back-to-back games. You can have a 7-game homestand, a 10-game homestand, and definitely in NBA, NHL, we see even just a back-to-back home game will cause a decrease in the resale value of the game, because just like players don't want to do back-to-backs, the season ticket holders don't want to do back-to-backs either, because it takes time to get out to the game.
Oh my gosh, it is. It's great to go, but the going is hard. It definitely cuts, especially as you get a little older. And like Jamie was saying, has a kid, he's coaching his little league team. I mean, you can't be everywhere at once. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So tell me about the service. So TiqAssist is, you've been around for a little bit of time now. Explain to everybody what the service is.
Yeah, so in terms of our mission, TiqAssist is the easiest and most stress-free way for season ticket holders to resell their unused tickets. We're really passionate about the season ticket holder experience, as we talked about. They really are the super fans and a key part to the overall ticketing ecosystem, which hopefully we'll go into more later in the podcast. But to focus specifically on TiqAssist, really there's 3 things that make us unique. Number one, we fully manage the ticket resale process for you. So what we do is, once you register with your section, row, and seat numbers, we actually will prepare your dashboard with every game for the season with real-time pricing. So whenever you log into your TiqAssist dashboard, you'll see what we'll start your ticket price out at. And then all you have to do is click list on the games that you want to sell, and you're done. Our selling experts and technology take it from there. So that's, as we discussed, we want to make it a very convenient experience for our users. The second thing that makes us unique is we actually list your tickets on 10 plus marketplaces, which is really important nowadays. Buyers have a lot of choice on which resale marketplace they can buy their tickets from. So that really creates a little bit of fragmentation. So if you're only listing on one marketplace, you're missing out on a lot of buyers. So by listing through us, you can reach up to 5 times the amount of buyers. And then third, we guarantee your tickets will sell. That's how confident we are in the technology and our selling experts. So in the very rare event that the tickets haven't sold with 3 days to go before the game, we'll make you a cash offer for your seats. And that way you can just have the peace of mind of taking that offer and not having to do that scrambling, texting friends and family like Jamie and I had to do when TiqAssist wasn't around.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And so it seems like the value proposition for the season ticket holder is pretty straight ahead. What is the relationship like with the teams? Because adding value to the season ticket holder is kind of like the great challenge right now, because again, like you said, with the secondary market and like the amount of games and all these things going on, making sure that works for everybody, that's like a key challenge for people. So how does that work? How does your relationship work with the teams?
Yeah, so currently we don't have any direct partnerships with the teams. Our clients are the season ticket holders themselves, but we do have clients across 92 different teams, including every NFL team. So our hope is that the franchise sales teams take notice of TiqAssist, and we have started to see that with a few ball clubs. Our clients talking how much they've enjoyed the TiqAssist experience and how it simplified their resale experience, to the point that certain ticket reps are recommending us when they have season ticket holders bring up those challenges.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully some of them will listen to this and then they'll reach out to you, because I mean, this I think is important. So when you talk about, you have this guarantee of sales, right? And then you're reaching 5 times more of the buyers, and you fully manage the entire process. What does the conversation about revolve around value, right? Because I mean, it's pretty, it's a pretty complicated thing for somebody who's not involved in the day-to-day of tickets to understand. I think probably like a lot of fans and people who have tickets, they probably think it's like sort of like waving a magic wand, like, oh, I'm going to buy these. And this is, I know this from like working with teams, is right. It's like they buy the package and they go, oh, I'll just resell the other 30 games I'm not going to go to, right?
Yeah, that's
and it ain't
definitely what
that
Jamie
easy.
and I thought when we first got season tickets.
Yeah,
So how do you have that conversation?
I actually said that to Chris when we were considering buying tickets. We bought our tickets at Oracle at the same time, and I was like, "Oh, it'll be easy. We'll just resell the games we can't make." And we definitely discovered that's a little bit more challenging than we thought. But yeah, Chris, you want to address the question?
Yeah, so in terms of how we help our season ticket holder clients navigate all of that, you're right, Dave. It is a lot to navigate. There's a lot that goes into it. So we do really put a priority on, customer education of all the different factors that drive season ticket value. Thankfully, it does boil down to some pretty simple factors. Really, it's the quality of the opponent that's coming into town, how popular they are. So like Lakers, Golden State Warriors, those are always going to be high resale value games. And then really the day of the week is really important. So those Monday, Tuesday games, even Wednesday, can be really challenging to sell. Early in the work week, people have to go to the office the next day, et cetera. And deal with anything school, et cetera. So that's a big factor that drives up or down, whereas weekend games go for a lot more than those Monday, Tuesday games, and how far out in front of the game that you list. So the earlier you list, generally the higher resale price that you'll get. And then obviously how the home team is performing. That will have a huge impact on the price up or down.
Okay,
yeah,
so
explaining this to customers is really difficult. I mean, it's a marketplace, and so it is kind of driven by supply and demand. But there is a lot of emotion with sports as well. So what we see is a marketplace that's way more volatile than the stock market. That's also driven by kind of sentiment and emotion, right? So we see a lot of season ticket holders that really overvalue their seats. A lot of people kind of just don't want to let go of specific games and, want to hold on to them and wait to list them as well. So, we really try to educate people to kind of be more organized. I mean, I think it's almost like a dichotomy of Chris and I's relationship, where he was way more organized in, what games he could make it to and looking at a schedule. And I was kind of just flying by the seat of my pants, like, trying to make it to as many games as I could and holding on to tickets for way too long. So we really try to value educating our customers and how to approach reselling their tickets.
And how do you educate people? Because that is right. Like, it's like sneakers and tickets are like the two most emotional things in the world, it seems like right now. When you're talking to people and educating them, because if Chris is super organized and Jamie was flying by the seat of the pants, there's somebody, there's both of you, and then there's somewhere in the middle. So how do you teach that? Because I mean, again, there's so many factors that go into these things, and there's so many different variables that it really is challenging for people. I mean, it's like crazy. I mean, it is crazy, and I think people don't necessarily understand the complexity.
Yeah, I think that's where there's a technology aspect to our product, and then there's a service element. So we definitely leverage both of those to drive that. So you do have the option to set up as you're getting onboarded with TiqAssist, to set up a Zoom call with one of our selling experts to handle whatever questions you have. But then we also kind of insert a lot of that customer education I just mentioned around what drives up and down resale value. We've also written a lot of blogs on how to resell tickets on your own. That's how we find a lot of our clients. And, as they onboard, they kind of mention like, oh, your blog on how to resell NBA tickets was so helpful. And again, we'll be hitting on a lot of those same points that I mentioned. On the technology side, we are currently working on inputting a lot of those education points into both the listing experience and the sales experience. So when you sell a ticket right now, when you sell a ticket with TiqAssist, in your sales confirmation email, we do kind of break down those factors that drove your resale value up or down. But
Okay.
we're working on getting that into the actual app experience as well.
So is that like a score that like people would get like with their confirmation? So
In a
usually like, oh,
sense.
this is
So
like an
we're,
A+ game.
yeah, we will tell you like, okay, key injuries is another thing that I didn't touch on when I talked about the key factors that drive prices up or down. As a busy season ticket holder, it's hard to keep track of who's injured, and injuries do happen from time to time. So we'll call out, Steph Curry was out this game, so that can easily drop prices by 30% on the home or on the road. So that's one thing. We talk about the quality of the opponent. Teams from year to year, they may have been a great team last year, but they may have gone into rebuilding mode and they're not a great team this year. And some season ticket holders may not realize that that team is no longer a draw. So we'll kind of go into those different factors when we send you your a confirmation that your ticket's sold.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this then, because one of the things that you talked about, Chris, you wrote a op-ed or a piece for Sportico that I looked at, and you talked about elevating the customer experience, and that's sort of a like a key idea that I try to teach everybody about. How do you feel you fit into helping the teams drive a better experience? Because I know you don't have a relationship, but yet you work with people across 92 different teams.
Yeah.
So how does that fit? Because I think Lord knows that I go to the conferences, I do stuff, and everybody talks about how important the fan and the customer is, but like so much of it it seems like lip service. So how do you help? Because I mean, it's kind of I'm walking you into the answer. I know a little bit because I already know kind of what you're going to say. But I feel it's so important, and people just like, they talk about the customer, they talk about the fan, they talk about the importance of the season ticket holder, but then something's lost in translation. So how do you address that? How do you elevate the experience, or how do you help people make sure they get a good experience? Because most of the time, a failure to resell your tickets, most of the time, the challenge of reselling your tickets, all of these factors that TiqAssist helps solve are helpful in elevating that experience. And not having something like you offer, or just like the competence and the expertise to understand how to do it, will make people not renew. And then the data shows that like it is not easy to win back people.
Yeah. Definitely happy to jump into that. So maybe let's start with the season ticket holder and just how important they are to the overall ticketing ecosystem. And then I can speak about how TiqAssist helps make sure season ticket holders renew. Season ticket holders, number one, I think it's a win-win relationship, both for the season ticket holder and the team. If you look at for the team perspective, season ticket holders are, number one, they have a lot of upfront costs that they're paying. So certain season ticket holders have to buy seat licenses. So for the new Warriors Stadium, both Jamie and myself have a seat license, and then season ticket holders have to pay upfront for the season without any guarantee of how the team's going to perform, right? So it really takes a lot of risk off the table from the team. But from the fan perspective, we're getting tickets at the lowest possible price. We're not paying buying fees on top of that, and there's a lot of awesome perks that I specify in that op-ed. So I think season ticket holders are super important in terms of like how we help improve the season ticket holder experience. So a big part of the experience is, as you mentioned, Dave, you need to resell your tickets from time to time, depending on the different obligations. A lot of our clients actually own season tickets for multiple teams. So it's literally impossible for them to make it out to all the games because, there's oftentimes games happening the same day or back-to-back days. So if you need to sell 10 or 20 times a season, that is a lot of effort, and TiqAssist takes all of that off the table for you. As I mentioned, all you have to do is click list in your dashboard on the games you want to sell, and you're done. So we've solved one of the major pain points for season ticket holders that hopefully helps them renew their season tickets.
Jamie, I look like Jamie wanted to jump in on this.
Yeah. So, I really think when I first started, we did some market research around the sentiment of owning season tickets. And one of the things that we found was there was just an unbranded negative sentiment around the season ticket holder experience. And that's to say that, season ticket holders weren't upset necessarily with a team or a marketplace, but they really didn't necessarily enjoy the experience. And one of the reasons is you start to get busy, you start to, have multiple years of owning season tickets, and kind of like that joy and kind of thrill of becoming a season ticket holder starts to dissipate over time. And we've seen a recent study with the NFL franchise where they kind of saw the same thing, just a drop in overall customer satisfaction. And so what happens is one of two things. Like, it really becomes what the performance on the field or court looks like for the team. And teams can really become a victim of their own success. If you are a team that's performing really well and going to multiple postseasons and stuff, that kind of drains the energy from the person you're going to so many events and kind of managing it for a longer time. And if you're a team that's underperforming, then people are just kind of feel like they're going to games that maybe don't matter. So we really feel like this level of service, we've always felt like there was a kind of gap in the service layer for season ticket holders, and it's really just enabling people to be the biggest sports fans they can be without having to worry about the stress of games that they can't make. And we really think that one of the worst experiences you can have is you have a season ticket holder that can't sell a ticket, and then a seat is empty for an event. So now, number one, the season ticket holder is kind of upset because they'd had zero value for that game they paid for. And then in the stadium, there's an empty seat. And so other people are kind of like, why are there empty seats inside the stadium? We want to be here. I think we all as sports fans want people in seats rooting for their teams. And that's really one of the things we're trying to enable.
Oh yeah, no, and this idea of the winner's fatigue is absolutely certain. I'm sure you guys know in Golden State, because I went to the University of Alabama, and it is hard to get people to buy tickets after you've won 6 or 7 national championships in a decade. Which of course is incredibly blowhard thing for me to say, but it's true. But so you did a significant amount of market research at the start, and so this is like something really interesting because I do a lot of that with teams and with businesses, and it's interesting because when you're looking at the research, it's very easy to bring your preconceived notions to the research you're doing. And one of the real challenges of being successful doing research is to make sure you don't do that. It's like to fight that bias that you have already. So I'm curious, like when you were starting this, because you came from outside of sports, right? And you came to this kind of with the season ticket holder point of view and like understanding some of the challenges from a customer standpoint. When you were doing this research at the start, what was surprising to you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that surprised me the most is, like I said, it was unbranded negative sentiment, right? So it wasn't season ticket holders talking about a team specifically or a marketplace specifically driving their negative experience. It was just kind of like the time, or a lot of the comments were around just the fatigue of managing their season, I do think that over a period of time, we kind of estimate that most season ticket holders without a seat license keep their seats for about 5 years, and I think that's really about the time it takes for you to kind of run through the cycle of managing your own season. So that's where we really felt like we had a product market fit, for what we had been planning and what we've really rolled out to the season ticket holder community. It is really just a way for them to kind of keep that high level of fandom with that and kind of get rid of the negative aspects of what they were managing.
And have you seen that customer sentiment change over time? Or, and I guess maybe it probably is 2 parts of it, right? Like, so for the people you work with, I'm guessing that has lessened a little bit because they have help. But is it stayed the same, or is it increased, or, is that something you look at regularly?
Yeah. So, we haven't repeated the study, but one thing we do is a net promoter score with our customers. And the first year we did a net promoter score, I think we had like 30 responses. And our net promoter score was a 67, which is, a really high mark if you're familiar with the net promoter score. And we rolled that out again after the end of our first NFL season, because as we expanded after the pandemic, we had one full season in the NFL, and our net promoter score was a 63. So, we really feel like we're hitting the mark as far as, creating satisfaction for people that are season ticket holders. And, that's one of the things we want everybody to notice is, there's just a better way to manage it. And that's what we're really trying to bring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll say over time, it's probably going to get harder for season ticket holders to resell tickets on their own, given the amount of new marketplaces that are emerging as popular options. So for us, no marketplace sells more than 20% of our tickets. So it's really split across, there's four to five heavy marketplaces that we move the tickets through. So I expect that to continue. So if you're listing on one marketplace, you're going to be reaching a smaller and smaller percentage of buyers.
Yeah. And so with the part of this too is I'm curious is, how do you manage the pricing for people, right? Because you make that guarantee of the sale. And then I know that, like, depending on your marketplace partnerships, right, they can manipulate the the price that you receive or the price that they charge on their websites. So what kind of factors are those? And maybe explain it to me through the eyes of, like, you would explain it to a customer so that they get a better understanding. Because, like, we all three of us understand the logistics of working with those different platform relationships, but like a customer or even a team side employee might not necessarily understand that.
Yeah, happy to do that. So in terms of how our pricing works, we are looking at multiple marketplaces, essentially real-time data, and repricing your tickets up to every 10 minutes, looking at seats that are comparable to yours. So, for NFL, for example, if your seats are on the home side, you're only going to be comparing to seats on the home side and sections that are as close or closer to the 50-yard line. So by us looking at those real-time marketplace data, we're factoring in a lot of different things because the markets are factoring in the quality of the opponent, how much supply and demand there is. That's a big factor. Any key injuries, as we talked about before. So we're doing all of that automatically for you. So when you show up on your TiqAssist dashboard, you see right off the bat how much we're going to list it. And then once you list the ticket, our selling experts are monitoring it even closer on top of the algorithm changing the prices automatically.
And so with the dashboard, right, how much customization and flexibility does a customer have inside the dashboard?
So we try to keep the experience as simple as possible for the customer. So all you do, as I mentioned, you register with your section 0 seats, and right when you land in your dashboard, you see basically your schedule of every single game with how much we would start off the price with. And you select which seats you want to sell. If you have 4 seats, you don't need to sell all 4. You can sell just 2, you can sell 1, 3, depending on whatever your situation is. And you can choose the games you want to sell. We're not selling your whole entire season ticket package. And then if you do list tickets, you have the option to delist the tickets at any point you want just by clicking one button.
Yeah. So you try to get everybody not to necessarily mess with like the pricing or like any of that stuff, but everything else you like largely customize. And that completely makes sense to me. It's just like one of those things because people ask all the time, like, well, and I think it probably comes from this thing going, well, this game is that emotion thing that Jamie was talking about. It's like, well, this game, it can't be worth only $40. It's got to be worth $300. I mean, this is like my favorite player was like, let me go back and think about something crazy. But like, when the Braves are coming down, Tom Glavine's going to pitch. Nobody cares about Tom Glavine but you. Actually, Tom Glavine was great because he also played for the Mets. So but is that where a lot of that, is that sort of a challenge that you're pushing back against, right? Or is that like something that's easy to solve for?
Well, I think every customer, like we said, overvalues their seats. I mean, we've talked to so many customers, and I've done a lot of sales calls where, someone will say like, oh man, these are the best seats. They're right at the 50-yard line. and then we look at their registration and it's in the third deck, like everybody really, when you have seats and again, there is a lot of emotion around teams. Once you start to sit in seats, I mean, I've been in the same section at both Oracle and the Chase Center since I started. And I kind of love the vantage point that I have. I've only moved like a couple of rows and a couple of seats around in essentially the same section. So people kind of just like really start to enjoy where they're sitting, and we definitely fight against a lot. That's why we really prioritize customer education, to kind of let them know these are the factors that really drive the value of your seats. And it's a marketplace. It is based on supply and demand. So, as much as you may value a specific player or team, it also depends on the day of the week that event's being played, what the record of the home team is, what the record of the away team is, and kind of like what point of the season you're in. We're coming on the back half of the NBA and NHL season, and as teams fall out of contention, the value of those seats at the end of the season really drops pretty quickly. And even for teams that are, kind of making it into the playoffs, home teams start to sit their starters a little bit and kind of prep for the playoffs. And even customers, the purchasers on the resale marketplaces start to say, do I want to buy a ticket at the end of the season, or do I want to try to get a playoff round? So we really try to educate our customers on the differences between selling at the start of the season when nobody knows what the team performance is, versus like in season, and there is a big difference.
Yeah. And let me ask you about this then. So like you're largely working with the season ticket holders. How do they find you?
Yeah, so we have a few different channels for them to find us. Blogs, as I mentioned, is a great way. We have a blog pretty much for every league on how to resell tickets on your own, both for the regular season as well as the playoffs. You can find us on social. We're at TiqAssist on Instagram, Facebook, also on LinkedIn. And then we do paid search as well. So if you search certain keywords, you will get directed to our site. So that's another way. And then word of mouth referrals. That's kind of how TiqAssist grew originally, given it is such a unique solution and our customers have had such a great experience. Thankfully, season ticket holders are pretty vocal about being a season ticket holder. So they probably know 5 or 10 in their network, and you do kind of build a community in the seats around you. So we call those seat neighbors. We've had the luck of having those seat neighbors talk about their great experience with TiqAssist and bring them on board as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of video content out on YouTube as well, where we kind of repeat some of that blog content for people to consume there as well. So, again, just trying to get customer education out there in as many different formats as we can.
Now, we started out the conversation talking about where the idea came from. And so I want to circle back as we kind of wrap up. So what's it like for both of you guys to now kind of have a career in sports? I know that Jamie came from biotech, and Chris, I don't know exactly what you came from, but I was going to say, I think Jamie's the smart one here, but maybe Chris is even smarter. I'm not sure. So I don't want to insult Chris, but I know, but what do you guys think now that you kind of have a job in sports?
Yeah, this is definitely for me, kind of a dream to work in this space. My background is in economics. Jamie and I did an MBA together at Santa Clara University. That's how we originally met. And then professionally, it's been in analytics. And I've worked in marketplaces pretty much my whole life. So I was at eBay Inc. for over 8 years, part of which I was at StubHub. So that was kind of my initial foray into the ticketing world. And then after that, I jumped into buying I just love learning. And I was fascinated from my initial foray at StubHub, where I just started buying concert tickets, all kinds of tickets nationwide. So that was my first taste of sports. So to marry my passion for sports and economics and marketplaces, TiqAssist is, something that it's just a great place to be. And I love just the process of creating something and then getting the validation from the users, from our season ticket holders, that this is something that they really value.
Jamie, it sounds like Chris is cheating. He already was here before you got there, but we'll let that go. What about you?
So I'll say if you're positioning it as I'm the smart one, as in getting out about your technology and into sports, then I'd say that's true. I spent the better part of 2 decades in biotechnology. But like I said, I've been living the fan experience for over a decade now. And I think both of us were really passionate about sports and just thought that there was a better way for people that were season ticket holders to manage their seats. And so, this has been really like a passion project, I'd say, for both of us. There's just a couple of things that really stand out. For us, it's interesting. You think as a sports fan that there's just so many people out there that are like you, but it's actually really hard to find people with the right skill sets that are also sports fans, which we really value inside the organization. We've worked with a lot of external vendors that just don't understand sports, and it's almost like trying to translate a different language at times. For me, I just get an opportunity to, we're talking about teams and venues and looking at team performance, as we're managing marketing budgets and stuff. We just had a conversation around what NBA and NHL teams are looking like they're most likely to make it into the playoffs. And that's really important for us because we're kind of adjusting some of our, budgeting to focus on teams that are going to, kind of make deeper playoff runs. So, it's just a great way to combine your passion for business and fun.
Yeah. All right. So then my final question is, and I think actually you've already answered it, which is somewhat disappointing to me. But you'll see why in a second when I ask it here, which was I was going to ask if Jamie and Chris, you still sit next to each other, but now that I know you went to NBA together, you probably still do. Or did you start going, God, I can't stand this guy anymore? But now I know that you guys are in for the long haul. So I think
Yeah, so I did move to LA 5 years ago. So unfortunately, Jamie and I stopped sharing season tickets. We stopped sharing season tickets at that point. And once the Warriors moved from Oracle Arena to Chase Center, but we're back to back now. Our seats are one, one in front of the other. So whenever I'm up there, definitely make an effort to sit there.
All right. So then, how does everybody find you? Let's plug a little bit now. Now, where can we find you?
Yeah. So TiqAssist.com. You can go there and kind of quickly get a feel for what the service is and very easily register. And we'll have your dashboard ready basically in 1 to 2 days with pricing for every single game, and you can start listing from there. Other than that, the social channels I mentioned at TiqAssist, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And then Jamie mentioned the YouTube channel under TiqAssist as well. Jamie, am I leaving out anything else to find us?
Nope. I think that's, and you can search for different ways to sell season tickets, and we kind of will show up in most searches. So there's lots of blog content out there for people that are just interested in learning more about, how to sell their own season tickets. I think a big component of what we do is we just want to educate people on how to be thinking about it. And we realize there's lots of people that, can manage it on their own. We're just trying to give them advice. But for the people that just don't have the time, we have a service available for them too.
Yeah, and we love talking to our customers. We don't hide our phone number. It's front and center on the website. So 833-735-5847. Or if you want to email us, sales@TiqAssist.com. We'll get back very quickly to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for doing this.
All right, Dave. Great being on the show.
What did you think of my conversation with Chris and Jamie from TiqAssist? Let me know. You can send me an email. It is my name, dave@davewakeman.com. Make sure you sign up for tomorrow's free webinar. Fill your seats now. 7 ways to get fans back in the stands, get butts in seats, whatever you want to call it. The link is in the show notes. Check out my website, davewakeman.com. Send me an email, dave@davewakeman.com. Check out the Talking Tickets newsletter. That's talkingtickets.substack.com. Hook up with the Business of Value at businessofvalue.substack.com. All of these ways. The webinar is just the start of a whole lot of new, productized services, we would call them. New ways to work with me, to connect with me, to use my ideas, all kinds of new stuff going on. Okay, so check these things out. Some of the stuff I'm going to try is probably going to be pretty cool. Be honest, some of it's going to fail miserably, and that's okay. The big thing I've learned is experimentation is the key to innovation and success. So check these things out. As always, I want to thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon. So take it easy.